Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another edition of the only live Monday through Friday lacrosse talk show on the planet. I am your host, Michael Karvelis, and this is Daily Dive. It is Wednesday, January 21st, 2026. The show begins now. We are live streaming via the airwaves of North American Talk Radio on YouTube. I ask that you subscribe to the channel before you leave today's episode for other great shows, live sports, and more. On today's awesome show, I'm going to first talk about NLL expansion, or what cities could make an NLL team work. I'll first tell you what I've heard about Edmonton and how that went. We know they say there was about 6,900 fans there. I'll tell you if that even mattered, good or bad, and also other cities that I think could work, and really a bigger picture of this whole thing. Then I'll break down why the Oshawa Firewolves, I don't think, are done yet. Despite a 2-5 record and another loss, this time to Saskatchewan, are the Firewolves cooked, or is there chance at hope this time around? And finally, stay tuned for my NLL Power Rankings. Before we get started, this show is presented by the NLL merchandise found at natalkradio.us/NLL. If you want to represent your favorite player or team, head over to that shop right now. They have Jeff Teat, Christian Del Bianco, Josh Byrne, Dane Smith, so many great players at your disposal. Again, at natalkradio.us/NLL. We appreciate you for trying. It's good stuff, man. I can't lie. Like, I told you guys, I got emotional. I was like, for 4 years, I was banging the drum. It looks like we're getting close to the whole launch of NLL merchandise. Alrighty, so we know that the Calgary Roughnecks and the Georgia Swarm went to Edmonton and played an unboxed game. That was what the NLL labeled it. It was a second unboxed game. The last one was 2 years ago in Laval, aka Montreal, aka Quebec, I guess. That was the first one. There's speculation and rumors that Laval still wants a team, but certain things have kind of turned them off, but they are still interested. But I want to focus first on Edmonton, and then I want to talk about the bigger picture of other cities potentially working here. So with Edmonton, we know that there was a thing that about the attendance, and I don't want to say guilty of that, but I was one of the ones who talked about only 6,900 people being there, considering the lower bowl, holds 10,000 by itself anyways. But I was told by a few people that it didn't really matter about the attendance, at least for Oilers Entertainment Group, because OEG is the group that if the NLL wants to go back to Edmonton, OEG is going to have to get involved. I was told by a few folks that OEG was kind of hands-off in this whole thing. I've asked around, and it seems like the attendance was not really a thing for them. And I also found out a little bit of possibility why it seemed like there was no promotions at Oilers games, even though some said there was, some said there wasn't. There was not, including like the night before the Oilers had a game, and people said they had no idea what was happening. So the Oilers are a super popular NHL franchise. Obviously, They've got Connor McDavid, aka McJesus. They've got Leon Draisaitl. They just went to the the NHL finals last year, the Stanley Cup final, and they've got sponsors for days. And why would OEG or the Oilers, why would they hype up an NLL game when it wouldn't really benefit them and they might actually be taking away from sponsors that are already there? Like, I know, well, I'll put it this way. If you wanted this thing to be sponsored or hyped up, you kind of have to pay for that time. Like, you don't want some random PA guy to say, all right, guys, just a reminder, tomorrow there's going to be an unboxed NLL game. Like, that would do nothing for people. Like, I don't even know how many people that would register in their brains if during some random intermission they just heard that. Like, oh, okay, you're eating like some hot dog and you're not paying attention to that stuff, I would assume. So it would cost I say try to pay for a spot anyways, but I get it if other sponsors are already there. Like, why get a random PA thing? It makes no sense. So keeping that in mind, they also could just open up the barn and then they get all the ticket money and all the food and beverage money. Yeah. Now, I do think the NLL not having any merchandise there was a little bit weird. And I know people say you can blame the teams for that. Can we, though? Like, if you're like if you're the league that's like, these teams are under your umbrella, why would you not push them and almost force them to put merchandise? Why wouldn't you do that? It seems that was a big drop, and that was a big complaint among fans. Another big complaint among these passionate fans was that they did not know it existed, even the diehard sports fans. So it is a little bit weird. But I have been told, and I have, again, asked around, and just even speculation can tell you, if OEG wants a team, they'll get a team. But I keep saying, do we know that even next year anybody else gets a team? Because I don't think expansion is the thing here. It might be a relocation, possibly, but like, the Georgia Swarm is one that keeps being thrown around. Folks, I've got like ears to the ground in Georgia. I'm told that John Arlotta has a lot of stuff down south, possibly has a lot of Cherokee money coming in. Like, there's things keeping the Swarm in Georgia besides just the team and its 4,500 attendance. Like, so there's a lot of stuff that John Arlotta has tied to down here, including houses and business and stuff like that. I know, like, the only reason they left Minnesota was because his son was a little bit wild. But like, and that's another can of worms. But I don't see Georgia going there. I do find it weird that Georgia was kind of like told to go there in a way. And I've also heard that John Arlotta probably made some money, which is crazy, off the whole deal. So the one team that sticks out is the Philadelphia Wings, because like, they're the sore thumb of the league right now. We know that Joe Tsai is kind of sugar daddy them this season. Like, he's not owning the team, but like, he paid for them this year to rent out the barn or whatever it is. And we don't even know if Philadelphia is going there. And I'll say it again, Calgary is not safe either, because that new barn, if you're not selling it out every single night, you might not get in there either. I know Calgary fans are going to tear me a new one, but that is reality. If you build this exciting new entertainment venue, you don't know, if you're not selling that thing out every night, they can put other stuff in there, and that's an issue. So keep that in mind. Calgary, they do a great job, but if they ain't packing that new thing out in Calgary, they're not safe. And it sucks, but that's how it is. There you go. Wings roster is loaded with American talent. If they relocate, it would be great to see them south of the border. And folks, there's speculation, and I've said this from day one. Philadelphia is an area, a sports town that's very passionate. If the NLL has any traction or any headway or any momentum, should I say, going at the end of this year, why wouldn't a local someone or something help them out? Whether it's a barn renting, like giving them a free barn for a couple of years. Like there's things, I'm not sold on Philadelphia bouncing just out of the state just yet. Well, I believe there's stuff that could happen there. And again, I also think, I said this before, Joe Tsai, and not to get down a Wings tangent here, I don't think Joe Tsai funded that team just to save them and see what happens. I think he knows a little bit of something other people don't know. Maybe he does. Maybe he did hear enough rumblings that he went ahead. Because this guy, you don't get rich by just giving away money and being a charitable guy. You get rich by investing. And that's what he did here. Even if he loves lacrosse, like you don't just give away money to a team that you don't even own. Just saying. Again, as for Georgia, you heard my take on that. Calgary, you're not safe. But again, I'm not sold that Edmonton gets a team next year. There still has to be some stuff that has to happen first. Now, that leads me to a bigger picture. What cities, just right off the top, do I think can make an NLL or really any sports team work? Well, a few come to mind. Number one, I've always been on the train of Seattle, and I'm going to tell people this because I keep rewinding back or circling back to the WNBA. I've said it for years. The Seattle Storm, I know they were good, and I get that. But the Seattle Storm, when the WNBA was not even close to being popular, I mean, the dog days of the WNBA, Seattle fans showed up. When the Seahawks have any playoff game, fans in Seattle show up. I am now I'm a Kraken fan. I keep tabs on the final scores. I don't watch the games. I can't get into hockey. I'm a Kraken fan, and they packed that some gun out at Climate Pledge Arena. All right? I don't know how an NLL team would get to Seattle. It probably would have to be expansion. I'm telling you now, Seattle has got loyal fans. Another city that has loyal fans, and I'm sickened by the way they moved their team, is Boston. And I think Boston fans are right up there with Philadelphia fans. Like 80% of them, at least on social media, are scum of the earth human. Like they seem like they are going to go out of their way to make you hurt personally if you dare criticize their team. That being said, that's a loyal fan base. Boston always shows up, and they are a rabid bunch. So I do think that Boston would be a great opportunity to go back to. I know New England Black Wolves, call them the Boston something. Like, to stop doing New England. It's Boston. I know those guys up there, they know we're new. It's not like a Panther City, but just call it Boston. Like, come on now. Another city that comes to mind. How about Kansas City? Like, when the Kansas City Royals were in the playoffs, that team was super, super loud. I believe they have an MLS team. I haven't checked that. I'm sure they do. Like, everyone's got an MLS team now. But the MLS team does well. And then the Chiefs. Like, that team was packing. Those fans were packing out that team before Mahomes even got there. All right? I know people claim the Chiefs are some bandwagon. That's not true. Those KC fans are very loyal. And that goes across multiple sports, by the way. So again, and these are just United States cities, by the way. And I'm trying to stay away from the Northeast. I think Seattle, and okay, Boston's the Northeast, but what it's kind of like its own little thing. Seattle, Boston, and Kansas City are three loyal United States fan bases that I think could work. I'll put another team out there. How about Houston? And I know that's silly. We already tried Texas. I don't know about that. We know that WNBA ownership out there did not give a crap to promote the team whatsoever. And I think Houston, when you look at the Texans/Oilers, when you look at the Astros, there's other teams out there, the Rockets, Houston shows up in a big way. I think that's another U.S. sports team, like sports town, that can make it work. And Canadians, you can chop it up in the comments. I know we got a few flowing here. Another team, another city that I say is Savannah, because I know I'm going to get laughed off the internet. I get it. The Market Arena has done a great job. The city of Savannah has shown up. If you give these college kids cheap beer, they're going to pack that barn out, all right? We should not be a hockey town in Savannah, and that's what the Ghost Pirates have done to us. How's that for you? But why do I think even Savannah could work? A comment made by CLL's Chris Fox is why. Marketing, marketing, marketing. Folks, the fans that showed up to Edmonton that talked to our very own captain, they were saying they were angry. They did not know the game was happening, which means many more people also have felt the same, especially after the fact when they didn't even go to the game. All right? So when you keep that in mind, can you imagine? And it's a crazy scenario to think about if the NLL actually gave 2 cents about the Edmonton game. Guys, I haven't even asked this, and I probably should have. OTCB, y'all were at the game. Was Brett Thru even at the game? And I don't want to hear what else he had to do. Yes or no, was Brett Thru in Edmonton? Because I sure didn't hear about it. Like, the NLL seems to have not even cared about this. And it's baffling. And I'm not going to go on an NLL tangent. He was. Wow. Okay, so good for them. My point is that he should be ashamed. How's that? How's that? Brett Thru goes there, sees no merchandise, has got, if he talked to any fans like Captain did, he knows how pissed they were. They didn't know. And I know that some other person ran this event. I know OEG was hands off. I do not care. The NLL has got to figure out a way, and thank you to Loose Smash and OTG for confirming that, by the way. They have got to figure out a way to stop pow, 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 to stop shooting themselves in the foot with marketing. Because my whole point of this segment is, if sales and marketing are your priority, that's what happens. All right? Oh, I'm telling you right now, and they're not going to call it the Swamp Pups, unfortunately. I'm telling you right now, if Jacksonville gets a team, Dilly Dive will either relocate or be there, and I mean this, every single game. I promise you right now. Now, I know Dilly Dive's worth nothing, but tell that to Edmonton, because apparently they thought, and again, God bless him, they thought Loose Mesh was going to pack the barn out. And it's like giving me the task of pumping out Swarm. I can only do so much. But again, like, this is not a mad segment. This is more like I'm just asking the NLL, could you at least pretend to care? And one more thing I'll say, and I don't know if I said this on the air before or not. I looked at the pinned tweet the NLL posted. I think I did say this, but I looked at the pinned tweet the NLL posted in October of last year. They have like 70,000 followers on Twitter. They left the pinned tweet up there to dry. It got like 60,000. I'll tell you what it got. We'll go to the NLL's pin tweet. It's probably down. It was like 60-something thousand when I checked it last. 70,000. Okay? That's the impressions from a tweet from October, let's see, November, December, from like over 3 months ago. Okay? Now go to the Premier Lacrosse page and their pin tweet about their schedule release from 6 days ago has 88,000 views. That is just Twitter, by the way. So I'm clearly, and if you're saying, well, PLL, no, 116,000 followers based on the ratio that the NLL got, the PLL should not have that much that quickly. The problem is the NLL does next to nothing promoting it. They literally left it to dry. And again, I have heard from other people, this is not the number. We were told 3 or 4 days before the event happened, they were expecting 4,000. Guys, 5,500 if I'm being generous. There were not 7,000 fans in that building, and I'm not going to, guys, here's the thing, and I'm not going to get mad here. A few years ago, the NLO tried this inflated bull crap, and I've said it before. Go look at Panther City's average attendance, I dare you. And you turn on that broadcast from Panther City, and you tell me if there was actually 3,000 people there. I beg you to count them. I did a counting segment with Albany. There's no way in a burning furnace there were 6,900 people there. I promise you. It's not rocket science. And like Captain said, they could have had 11,000 if they actually marketed it. It wasn't, did you count them? Like, again, I understand people want a team in Edmonton. If you were not the one counting, you cannot say those, they're not accurate. And again, we can do the counting thing. I'm not just arguing with Loose Mash. I'm just saying in general, there are people out there that are trying to say it was not 7,000. It just wasn't. Again, the NLL has a history of inflating these numbers. If OEG or whoever it is distributed tickets, those are not people in the barn. They're just not. That's how it's unfortunate that's how it works, but the reported number is almost never accurate. And welcome back. All right, so that's it for the segment. I'm not going to argue with. I'm just telling you guys, if we're going to be media, we got to stop pretending these things are accurate all the time. I would say half the time they're not. So there you go. All right, we come back. That's what I'm saying. All right, so when we come back, Oshawa Firewolves, I've got numbers to back up and a schedule to back up why they're not done yet. Don't go anywhere.
You're listening to North American Talk Radio, the all-new talk radio station featuring sports, movies, politics, mental health, and more. Check us out at natalkradio.com and subscribe today. Buy event tickets straight from our website to help the cause and get tickets to your favorite events for less. That's natalkradio.com. Thanks for listening.
BetUS and North American Talk Radio have partnered to bring you the preferred betting platform in the United States, and you will get a deposit bonus of up to 150% if you use promo code 120Z. Take it from me, I'm a cowboy and a gambler. I wrangle my bets on BetUS, and I use the promo code 120Z to get free money. Yee-haw! That's BetUS and promo code 120Z. Now giddy up.
Welcome back to Daily Dive, the only live Monday through Friday lacrosse talk show on the planet. It is Wednesday, January 21st. By the way, this is why, and again, like what he says is accurate. Like, they're sold out every game, but a little bit different. Excuse me, in attendance. But and again, I was told the attendance did not even matter to OEG. So if they had 2,000 people, it wouldn't even matter. So that wasn't even the argument at all there. Just for the record, guys. If there were 8,000 people there and they just miscounted, it's not gonna that's not what the difference in getting a team was. So there you go. We just talked about potential relocation, expansion cities, whatever. In terms of the U.S. Cities, Seattle, Boston, Kansas City, great ideas. Obviously you want you want a good owner, or you want the NHL team. Obviously that's not gonna always be the case. I just think those are loyal. Oh, even Houston, they're loyal United States fan bases for their teams. And again, the big thing with marketing, can we market a little bit, guys? This guy. Oh, all right. Let's now, and stay tuned for my power rankings, because what a big shift that was this week. But let's now get into this. The Oshawa Firewolves. And folks, you will notice the Oshawa Firewolves in the standings right now are 12th with a 2-5 record. And just for disclosure, last season, I might really have to go back to Albany Firewolves for this. This is so annoying. All right, so Albany Firewolves in 2025, that's annoying. All right, in 2025, the Albany Firewolves started 2-8, and I went on this show banging the drum that they were good, because I remember 2 years ago, and even at this point it was last year, I was like, they made the finals, and that was no fluke. Even Alex Simmons has been in a press conference this year saying it's not an excuse, but there's still a bunch of young guys trying to learn the game, and so they're not going to make it to the finals every year. Last year, obviously, the Albany Firewolves did not, with a 7-11 record, including winning 4 of their last 6, but that wasn't good enough. Now, that being said, here's the thing, and I know, this should be my opinion, but I've got some numbers to back up my stupid faith in this team. Okay. Oshawa Firewolves in their last 3 games are 1-2. I know, it's what does that do? Well, they had not scored 10 goals all year, their first, what is it? Where are we at now? They're 2-5, so 7. Their first 4 games, they did not crack 10. Then they scored 14, but lost to Ottawa, which is annoying. They scored 16 and had a big revenge and a key split against Halifax. And then they lost the rush, but scored 10 goals on that defense. Now, you're like, Michael, what does that mean? I'm glad you asked, because it doesn't mean anything. But we're going to keep on. We're going to throw that into our sandwich here. And now I'm getting hungry for some reason. We're just saying the word sandwich. We're going to throw that into our sandwich here. Oh, fat guy's getting hungry. I'm kidding. Because we're gonna build a meal here. All right. Doug Jameson still has an 80.8 save percentage, and I know people are saying, Michael, that's 7th in the NLL, and you are correct. But you guys know by now, 79 and 80% save percentage is super duper awesome, and usually will get you top 3 in the league, if not better. All right. That goes historically in the NLL. 80.8 would be right up there every year the NLL has existed. All right. But maybe a few off years. But that's not even the point. Doug Jameson has also faced the second most shots on goal, and he's still putting up those numbers. So he's still been awesome despite allowing 16 against Ottawa and 15, give or take, against Saskatchewan. Now, we move on down the roster. Alex Simmons, 18 goals, tied for fourth in the NLL. And that is significant because just last season, folks, let's get to this. Alex Simmons, in terms of goals scored, finished 13th at only 37. That is a big data point for me because he was not as good as he was in year one. Now, we move down the stats. How about Will Johansson? In his second year in the league, Will Johansson, 55 loose balls, is 8th in the NLL. Nick Tchaikovsky, one of the leaders for Defensive Player of the Year, his 11 caused turnovers, tied for 5th. Colton Watkinson, his 9 block shots, tied for 4th. In almost every major stat category, the Firewolves have a guy in the top 10 or top 5. That, again, we're building our sandwich. But what about our potato chips in our drink? Whether you want water, Gatorade, or soda, whatever you energy drink, for crying out, a beer. Let's build this meal up here. I'm starving at this point. So you combine the fact these guys are playing great. You now say, what does their schedule look like? Can I interest you in saying in their next 7 games, they could go 5-2 and get back to 500? What are those games, you ask? At Colorado, the Mammoth are still good, are really good, as you'll see in my power rankings, but they've also lost some weird games, all right? At Las Vegas, very winnable, especially if your offense is playing better. At Toronto, that game, folks, in case you missed the video I did earlier and the reporting that's been done on it, Nick Rose will miss multiple weeks. That number is like 3 to 6 weeks. So the game against Toronto, February 7th, I believe, is actually under 3 weeks from now. So you're not going to have to face Nick Rose, and Holochuk might be great. I'm just saying. That's another winnable game. Versus San Diego, we're not sold on the Seals yet. I don't care what they did to Vancouver. At Ottawa, you guys scored 14. If your defense locks it up, you might actually beat Ottawa. A back-to-back against Philly. If Oshawa is as good as people have been wanting, like myself, if there's any trace of what they were 2 years ago, the formula is there. They've got the star players playing well. They've got the goaltender locking down the forts. There is a possibility, again, Colorado, Vegas, Toronto, San Diego, Ottawa, and 2 Philly games, the Oshawa Firewolves come out of that 5-2. And that feels a lot better when you're 7-7 than 2-5. It also feels a lot better than last year when you're 2-8. Another thing I'll say, remember I told you, the Firewolves last season started 2-8. They won 4 of their last 6 games. They're in sports, you want to win. And I'll hear other media talk about this with other leagues. Was it maybe a good thing that after making it to the finals, losing to Buffalo in just 2 games, and then starting 2-8 and never being able to fully recover in your second year, was that good for this team? And the best part is, Dyson Williams has not made the finals yet. Remember, that team that made the finals had Simmons and Kurtz and Colton Watkinson, etc., and Doug Jamieson. They brought in Dyson Williams in the draft, and suddenly we're on cloud 9. You fall flat on your face. I think last year was good for this team, and I am now. I picked this team to go 12-5. or 12, whatever 12-6, I forgot what it was. My point is, I'm going to keep on hanging on the thread that Oshawa, maybe, I think they're good, but at this point, they're not done yet. Because 2-5, you can't defend much. But so far, this team, this season alone, has played Vancouver twice against Halifax, which they split, beat the Rock, who suddenly look okay, and played the Rush. They've not had an easy schedule, and I know if you're going to be that good, you got to beat those teams. I think Oshawa is going to get better. And I think, again, last year was good for them, and maybe that's why I'm holding out hope. Because their upcoming schedule looks pretty winnable, and I think, 10 weeks from now, we might be having a different conversation about this team that we all fell in love with less than 2 NLL seasons ago. That segment went better than I thought it would. What in the world? So, OTCB says, you are so hard on so many teams. Yeah, I'm an Oshawa apologist. It's funny because, it is fun. Yeah, actually, I'm glad he brought that up because I did predict Albany to finish last, and they bought me. And forget the fact that Captain goes there and it does a great job of media. I kept asking myself, Michael, at what point do they have to really prove to you? At what point do the Firewolves have to prove to me? Because other teams have proved to me they're not good enough. Well, now Oshawa, I put their expectations on a 12-6 record, and 2-5 is a bad look. But if they can reach the 6-8 mark or 7-7 mark, I'm gonna feel pretty good. And it's going to suck so badly because I'm gonna be sweating these games out. But I believe in this team, man. I'm a huge Alex Simmons fan for whatever reason besides that he's charismatic. He's a fiery player. I think Ty Kirk is starting to come on. If Dyson can figure it out, the defense and goaltending is set. I would much rather have an offensive problem than a defensive problem because at least the championship part is set. And we don't trust Kirk Simmons and Dyson Williams. I think you're drunk if you don't. All right. We come back. It's time for my power rankings. Where does Oshawa rank, by the way? They lost. They didn't get off that easy, for the record. We will be right back to Daily Dive. We're going to wrap it up next. If we're going to wrap it up, is that sponsored by... Never mind. We'll be right back.
You're listening to North American Talk Radio, the all-new talk radio station featuring sports, movies, politics, mental health, and more. Check us out at natalkradio.com and subscribe today. Buy event tickets straight from our website to help the cause and get tickets to your favorite events for less. That's natalkradio.com. Thanks for listening. You're listening to North American Talk Radio, the all-new talk radio station featuring sports, movies, politics, mental health, and more. Check us out at natalkradio.com and subscribe today. Buy event tickets straight from our website to help the cause and get tickets to your favorite events for less. That's natalkradio.com. Thanks for listening.
Welcome back to Daily Dive, the only live Monday through Friday lacrosse talk show on the planet. I'm your host, Michael Karvelis. It is Wednesday, January 21st, 2026. We are 3 segments deep at this point. We're like drunk on lacrosse subjects. That was a condom joke that was stupid. But before the break, oh gosh, that's another condom joke. Anyway, this was stupid. If you want NLL merchandise, head over to natalkradio.us/NLL. Jeff T, Christian Del Bianco, other player shirts are available. I cannot wait till they officially launch this thing. We need jerseys, but I think it's a good setup what they have right now. So I'm very happy about that. All right, now let's get into the power rankings. Well, my NLL power rankings, not you guys. You guys have a chance to vote on it through the NLL StubHub thing. So check that out. But while you're here, bam! All right, this, of course, is 14-9. So Roughnecks still at 13, Wings at 14. Like, how did the Dogs drop? Very simple. The Seals beat the Warriors, and the Dogs beat my 14th ranked team. Like, I don't think, like, you're not getting a brownie for that. Oshawa falls down to 10. They're 2-5. And so once again, I've got to, and full disclosure, they're playing against Colorado. If they lose that game, they're going to have to keep falling. I know there's only 4 games this week, but I can admit that. Number 9, the Georgia Swarm. I still feel like Georgia's offense also has to step up. It did the last game. Is that sustainable? We will have to see. If Lyle is out of his funk, that would be great. Georgia plays at Toronto this week. I'm glad you asked about Toronto because bam! There's the rest of the power rankings. So let's go 1 to 8. Saskatchewan, I mean, God forbid, if the rest of the league just created another league, that would be great because the Rush would save themselves some health and travel time here. Like, they're going to win the finals. Like, I was first to that 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I had them in the finals losing to Vancouver. Me and Vancouver are like almost broken up at this point. We're like divorced. Number 2, Rochester. Like, how did Rochester move up in a loss? I don't know. Everyone else lost, for crying out loud. I know Colorado's beaten them, but Colorado also has some questionable losses, even though I'm a big Mammoth believer at this point. And I'm going to say it again, folks. Dylan Ward, no one's talking about this because it's not just this year with an 83.1. Last season, Dylan Ward played 17 games, had a 79.4. Because remember, the year before that, it was 75.7. He wasn't very good. And then last year, I kept saying it, despite the team finishing like 9-9 or 8-10, excuse me, Dylan Ward had a great year. This year has been even better. He helped beat the Buffalo Bears once upon a time. So, but again, Rochester, Colorado, right there for me. Buffalo, this is relying a lot on my narrative. Buffalo did not need a letdown against Ottawa. And that's what happened here. I know, and even I could be the first to admit, when Buffalo struggled a couple years ago, I still felt like they were still good. I still think they're a top 5 team every week in the league, but at some point, your games have to matter. Just like Oshawa, they're 10th in my rankings. Buffalo, quit playing with your food. You're 3-3. Let's step it up, boys. They're 3-3. All right. Next up at Colorado, Buffalo has a bye week, so does Rochester, for the record. Toronto moves up to 5. Now Toronto is on a slippery slope here because they are 3-2. They did beat Rochester and San Diego and Calgary, but those are 3 pretty pathetic wins besides Rochester. Like Calgary, San Diego, and you lost to Vegas. You lost to what everyone tells me is a bad Oshawa team. Toronto's on thin ice. They do have a winning record. This week they play Georgia. You better beat Georgia or you will go woo down the slope again. But I had to put them above Vancouver. Vancouver, it's like no one's talking about. I mean, they are where they are. Like, we're gonna blame Oshawa for the great defense and a bad offense. We gotta do the same for Vancouver. Vancouver, you were the preseason darlings, and you had a major, just a god-awful letdown. And I know that goal, I'm going to be honest, folks, those 2 missed calls in Rochester were a lot worse than Vancouver, because San Diego was, I believe, punking them in that game. Rochester led a lot against Toronto. Rochester had 2 calls late. Vancouver, there is honestly, if we're being objective here, a scenario where, yeah, he did touch down the crease. Like, just because we didn't have the angle on the broadcast does not mean the ref didn't see it clearly. So, just for the record, Halifax dropped to 7. At this point with Halifax, I don't know what's Warren Hill is no longer the weakling. It's ridiculous. And Ottawa climbs up to number 8. Ottawa looks good this year. Yeah, no, I mean, of course, Toronto, yeah. And I'm not going to lie, like, should I penalize Rochester more? Yes, because they did blow a lead. But I still feel like Rochester was right there. San Diego, Vancouver, San Diego was up in that game, and they were punching Vancouver around. And I keep saying, I don't know if it's egos in their personality, but for some reason, there's too many mouths to feed, and I'm even hungrier. There's too many mouths to feed in Vancouver, and for whatever reason, Curtis Dixon, who's been a black hole his entire career, like I don't care if I say that out loud. Like, you guys gotta find a way. You are way too talented, and not just talented. These are not just young guys. These are veterans being sticky with the ball. Figure it out, man. But yeah, again, controversial here, but I penalizing Buffalo and Vancouver was more so because I expected you to really stomp it down, and you decided, now we're good. That's an issue for me, because obviously, like, Buffalo came off a brutal loss to Rochester, and then you come back and let Ottawa smack you. That's not good. I don't care how good Ottawa might have improved this year. That was a huge letdown for Vancouver. Being pushed around by a Riglieri in 2026, that's a bold strategy. So there you go. And again, 1 through 8, 9 through 14. There's only 14 teams in the league. Like, what are you going to do? Thanks so much for watching, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow. Same time, same place here on North American Talk Radio. We're going to try to get Tim Dillon on the show tomorrow. Honestly, he's a West Coast guy, so I didn't ask him in time, but we'll see if Senor Sedete returns tomorrow. I'm sure he will. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Thanks again for the comments. We'll see you tomorrow, like I said. Creating the narrative again, by the way. Only 4 games. We can still do it. Bye, everybody. I need to learn to smile.